Welcome to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, McMeow. Please subscribe to me on patreon.com/McMeow. You can also find the Conservative Continuum on Rumble and Facebook. Today we have a surveillance cat show with John Bennett. He is the Vice President of Understanding the Threat, and he is going to talk to us about national security, the southern border, and the weaponization of the DOJ. Please be sure to stay tuned all the way through to the end of the show because we have some special announcements that you need to be aware of. So grab your kitty treats and your milk and let's get ready to engage. Well, welcome to the Caterwall. Let's get to it. Today we are going to be speaking with John Bennett. He is Vice President of Understanding the Threat, an organization that provides strategic and operational training and consulting on national security threats. We're going to gain lots of important information, but first, let's talk. The southern border of the United States is an absolute disaster. Over 2 million people have crossed over the border illegally, and another 1 million have gotten away without being able to be contacted in any way. Nobody seems to know who they are and where they went. As reported by Jesse Waters of Primetime, planes full of migrants have been flown around this country by the Biden administration. This past week, a plane was flown to Orange County Airport in Montgomery, New York. The arrival was done in complete secret. Young teen girls from Venezuela and Guatemala. Both Primetime and Jack Posobiec investigations has discovered that there is a web of human trafficking and a process of money changing hands. One company moving the immigrants is MVM Inc., which is a non-governmental organization known as an NGO. This NGO contracted with the federal government to transport unaccompanied immigrant minors through the sponsor process. Those transportation costs are paid for by the taxpayers. The Post-Millennial, published in August 2022, revealed that MVM Inc. was awarded a $136 million contract by the Biden administration. This contract was for the transportation of immigrant families and unaccompanied minors in government custody. Savannah Hernandez, who is a journalist with Turning Point USA, she had an interview with an anonymous whistleblower who works as a travel use care worker. This interviewee shared that tens of thousands of unaccompanied immigrant children are being bused or flown throughout the U.S. Due to the massive amounts of unaccompanied children being escorted, MVM employees are not properly vetting the custodial adults and are handing kids off to unvetted adult sponsors. The interviewee further disclosed that in his office alone, employees move up to 5,000 children each week. Between all four offices, the whistleblower speculates that about 8,000 to 10,000 children are being moved each week with estimates reaching up to 40,000 per month. The interviewee also reported that due to lack of identification, children, adults, and alleged cartel members are often placed in the same shelter together. It has also been reported that some of the children are attempting suicide for fear of being sent through the sponsor program. The whistleblower admitted that MVM Inc. has been one of the NGOs transporting thousands of migrants to various states directed by the Biden administration. One of the most alarming parts of this investigation is a report issued by the Center for Immigration Studies. It was done on March 2nd, 2022. They revealed that the Biden administration has lost track of nearly 20,000 kids. How do you lose track of 20,000 precious children? Where did they go? Who are they with? Are they with human or sex traffickers? No one knows. Please, God, be with them. Stay with me. After the break, we're going to speak with John Bennett, and we're going to talk about national security. Welcome to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. Today we are here with John Bennett. He is the vice president of a corporation, and it is called Understanding the Threat. And we are going to talk about national security. But before that, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee, OTU Media, Mariam Daly for Senate, Charles Furia, and Carolyn Montgomery. Okay, John, thank you so much for being with us today. It is a pleasure and an honor to speak to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for continuing your fight for liberty. It's an honor to be here today.
Thank you. I want to just kind of turn the clock back just a little bit. And I want to talk about your congressional race just briefly, because I want to get caught up with you. So you ran as an American First candidate, and your platform, your message was incredibly clear. It is something that is near and dear to me. It was God, family, country. So you supported strong borders, you supported America, energy independence, and limited government. And in my monologue, I talked about those three words because my great-grandmother left that as a legacy. She passed that along to me. So can you explain to us just a little bit about what those words and those phrases mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question, Meg, because so many candidates, they'll run on those three things because that's what Oklahomans value and that's what Oklahomans want. Unfortunately, a lot of these candidates, a great majority of them, don't believe what they're actually saying, and they don't believe in God, family, and country as they're perpetrating it to be. To me, God, family, and country are core values in my life. God being first in my life is he should be first in everyone's life, because everything evolves or revolves around God. When I say God, I'm talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They give his son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins, to atone for our sins, because we obviously cannot do that on our own. We are so far from perfect, and God is perfect. And he made that way for us through his son, Jesus Christ. That's the God I'm talking about. And without putting him first, because this nation was built upon the laws of nature and nature's God, it's only blessed because of him. Until we put him first in our families, our communities, our state, and our nation, we are destined for doom. So I campaigned on that because we got to get back to God. We got to get back to the founding of our nation, who we are, and why we're blessed in the first place. And of course, family, to me, family is very important, second only to God. God give me my family, and I'm very thankful for that. God's blessed me and my family. And I love my children and my wife. This nation, and one of the foundings of this nation is the foundation of the family, a husband, a wife, and their children. And because of that, we've received a lot of the blessings that we have in America today. So many different things. Of course, it's under attack today. And I boldly stood up for God and for family because of the love for my family, not just my immediate family, but my family in Oklahoma and all over the nation, because we're all connected by the Spirit as brothers and sisters in Christ. So to me, family was very important. And of course, country. I spent over 20 years in the United States Marine Corps, fought in 2 foreign wars, deployed to more foreign countries than I've been to states inside the United States. I've seen the sacrifice of men and women abroad and here at home, and the things that they're doing for this country is just unbelievable. But we are the most blessed country on the planet. We enjoy so many blessings here in the United States of America: freedom and liberty, and all of the things that come with that come from God, that come with that. We enjoy those. And we're just squandering that away today because people don't know what real sacrifice is anymore. People won't even join the military anymore to go fight for that freedom. And we are losing it. We're losing our republic because no one will stand up and fight for it. But I choose to stand up and fight for our country because I know what the sacrifice is. God didn't give it to us and bless it so much just for us to squander it away and give it to some other evil nation or evil person. So I ran on that platform as God, family, and country. And in general terms, that's what it meant to me.
Yes. Thank you for your service. I wanted to add that in there because it is so extremely important. I want to ask you if you could tell us just briefly about your journey during your campaign and what is next for John Bennett.
So I decided to jump in the campaign for Congress because my congressman in District 2 left to run for the U.S. Senate seat, which was Mark Wayne Mullen. It was about a 3-month race. And I thought, I really didn't have a great desire to do it. But what I realized as a state party chairman was we can win all the battles at the ground level. And we were winning a bunch and changing a lot of things. And it has to be won from the ground up. The problem is, and I learned this in combat, whoever owns the air owns the battlefield. And to me, I didn't feel like we had appropriate air cover at the national level. And that's what we needed in Oklahoma and in the United States, but primarily here in Oklahoma was my primary concern. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to run for that seat, and then I can support, air support, if you will, the ground troops on the ground in Oklahoma that's trying to make a difference and take back our state and put real constitutional Christian conservatives in office, support the ones that are in there, put more in there, and help us wall off our state so we can secure it and keep it safe from the overreach of the federal government.
I cannot help myself. Are you going to run again?
I don't necessarily care to. I'm going to do whatever the Lord leads me to do and whatever I feel is necessary to preserve the freedoms and liberties, the real freedoms and liberties given to us by God and our founding fathers. I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that because, one day if, and heaven help us, the communists or Marxists or some other totalitarian government ever takes over the United States of America, I don't want my kids to ever say, Dad, why didn't you do something? I want to do all I can to make sure they I pass off to them the same free nation that I received from those that went before me. So I don't necessarily plan to, unless God talks to me through a burning bush. I don't necessarily plan to, but I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take a quick break. The kitty is crying. And so after the break, we're going to come back. I want to kind of see what you're doing now with the corporation that you're in, understanding the threat. And then we're going to talk more. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. Please do me a favor. Go to patreon.com/Mick Meow and become a sponsor. It would mean a great deal to us, and we'd be able to bring you more interesting and necessary information like we are today with John Bennett. So, you are the Vice President of Understanding the Threat. Tell us a little bit about that organization. What's your role? What do you all do?
So we are a national security company. All of our employees, if you will, all have background in the federal government, either in counterintelligence, the CIA, the FBI, and others. Folks that are real patriots that have a background in all of these different fields that have come together and said, we've got to do something about what's going on today, because it has become very obvious to all of us that the federal government cannot and will not fix this. In fact, they are part of the problem, if not the main problem. So our founder was former FBI. He was a Marine, reconnaissance, Marine Special Forces. And we developed a relationship a long time ago, doing some other things. And when I left the legislature, he called me and said, hey, here you might have some time on your hands. We would appreciate you coming down and talking to us, and maybe you can come on board. So I did, and it was my way of giving back, continuing the fight for this country, and the freedoms and liberties that we have. So generally what we do is we go around, we used to train agencies, well, we still do from time to time, law enforcement agencies, federal agencies, legislators, and others on the real threat, the unadulterated truth about the enemies we face today, which is the communists, the Marxists, and the global Islamic network, which, by the way, they are working together and have been for years at the ground level all the way up to the international level. It's a huge problem. And no federal agent is getting this training. As a matter of fact, no federal agent that came through the academies after probably 2007 or 8 are getting the truth about any of these threats. They're not even training on them at all. So a lot of the younger agents have no clue what's going on unless they research it and learn it on their own. So they have no clue, because when Obama was in the White House, he purged the entire Homeland Security of all the real patriots in there. A good friend of mine, Phil Haney, one of the founders of Department of Homeland Security, he was purged completely out of DHS because he had put together an entire database of all the bad actors. It just so happened that some of those were tied to the Obama administration. Told him to purge it, he refused. They got rid of him and all the other patriots, and that stayed true all the way through. And even some of the bad actors had went over into the Trump administration and he was convinced to push folks out that later on that he regretted doing because of bad advice that he had got. So it was a complete purge of the entire system. So it's got to be done at the local level. So we primarily focus now on going into the communities, helping the communities identify the communist, Marxists, and jihadis in their community, and helping them formulate a plan on how they can delay, disrupt, and dismantle those networks at the local level, working with sheriffs, police departments, and in some instances, very, very few instances, some on the federal level, federal agencies on the federal level, but not very often. But primarily, so no one cares more about your community than you do. So we come in, it's only a 2-day program. It's one of the programs we do. It's a 2-day program. We come in, we train on the doctrine, the enemy threat doctrine, the communist, Marxist, and the Islamic movement, how they're working together, the penetration, they've been successful penetrating our government at the local level, all the way to the President of the United States office. And then we teach them how to research and how to do some other things. And then day 2, we hand walk them through an entire operations order targeting someone or an organization that's a bad actor, a known bad actor in your community, how they can legally and lawfully take them down.
Wow, that's phenomenal. It is understandingthethreat.com, right? I want you all to go there today and check that out. It's a phenomenal website. I've been there. I want to ask you a quick question about Nord Stream 2. That pipeline was recently sabotaged. Now, nobody claims to know who did it, what country, what individual group, but Representative Chris Stewart of Utah was on Glenn Beck with the Epic Times, and he says that this shows that we are at an opening stages of a war with Russia. Russia has threatened to use nuclear weapons and has trumpeted all this war escalating rhetoric. Regardless of who sabotaged the pipeline, there are some that believe that Russia would use that event to claim that the U.S. would be responsible and use that as a way to justify targeting our energy infrastructure. So, from a national security standpoint, are we prepared for that here in the U.S.?
So, there's a lot of things with that. One, I think it was, let's see, February the 7th, former Vice President Joe Biden, installed president, he said, and I quote, "If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again, there will no longer be a Nord Stream 2. He said that in February. So no one's asking the question. Maybe someone should, since no one's taking credit for it. Who was it? And would it benefit the Biden administration to do so? At a minimum, you got to ask the question, okay, what about, why is all of a sudden this mainstream news when recently Los Angeles officials had to arrest the CEO of Koenig, an election firm that had numerous servers pointed to China. They arrested him because the FBI tried to bury the case months ago. So is this happening with Russia? Is it being elevated to keep, because you got to think in these terms, every time something happens, election fraud, something else happens. When proof comes out, something else happens. When anything happens with the Biden administration, all of a sudden that gets dropped, buried in the news, and something else happens. So you got to ask the question, is this another smoking mirror with Russia using a nuclear weapon against us? I mean, because the reality of it is, we think in terms of, all right, television, we're going to war with this country because they're mad at us. It doesn't necessarily work that easily or that simple. Russia has a lot to lose by engaging in a nuclear war. So does North Korea, so does China, so does the United States, the entire Asian continent, the European continent, the entire world, really. It would crash. It would wreak a lot of havoc with everyone. So nuclear war would be the very, very last thing that would happen, even if the bad guys want it to happen.
Gotcha.
So you got to start looking deeper and say, all right, well, then why is this all of a sudden an issue? What about all these things going on over here? I mean, because the Russia collusion deal we all know is fake and false now. Of course, we all knew from the beginning, it was buried. Epstein issue, it was buried. The laptop server that Hillary Clinton bleach bitted, buried. All these things were buried with other news that everyone thought, oh my God, the world's going to end. So is that where we're at today?
I want to follow up on this and I want to talk a little bit more about this, but we've got to take a really quick break and then we're going to be right back. Welcome back to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. We are speaking with John Bennett. He is the Vice President of Understanding the Threat. We were talking about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline sabotage, and you brought up this information about Conic, then the server information that was left on our data that was left on the Chinese servers or China's servers. And I want to kind of ask you a quick question because it seems like there's so many issues going on here that is affecting our national security. What impact would there be or could there be in Oklahoma? First of all, because we are a producer of natural gas and oil. And second, if this attack happened, if there was an attack, would it be something cyber? Would it be nuclear? Or would it be something like some sort of high altitude EMP? What is your insight on that?
So to kind of digress a little bit, to go back to the Nord Stream pipeline, in a way that by that not being functional and gas going through that pipeline, that could benefit the United States because countries like Germany, for instance, who rely heavily on Russian gas, they would have to buy that from us, more than likely. And that's something that the administration could try to work out with them, start selling that immediately. So again, that may be another indicator that points back to who actually sabotaged this thing, but that's neither here nor there. So it could benefit us to some extent. However, as far as an attack, whether it be cyber, nuclear, or otherwise, that would be very detrimental to the state of Oklahoma in so many different ways. I mean, there's a lot of considerations to think about here. And if they do it, it will likely be a combination of all those things plus some more, because the Chinese Communist Party, the communist movement as a whole, they see this primarily, the Chinese see a total war with the United States and the Western world. So they will use everything at hand to destroy our nation. But right now, they don't need to do a kinetic attack. They don't have to lob a bomb or anything else because they're completely infiltrated inside our colleges, our K through 12 schools, as well as the Biden administration as a whole. I mean, the Mitch McConnell's wife has direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, they are completely infiltrated inside the United States. So if I were them, I certainly wouldn't lob a bomb over here or some kind of kinetic attack because I don't have to. All I have to do is just keep doing what I'm doing because it's working and they're seeing great success from that today. But if I was to do a kinetic, and I would expect this from Russia or China or any of our enemies, it would definitely be a nuclear attack in the atmosphere, which would cause an EMP, which would completely shut down, if not all of America, at least portions of it at a time. it would put us back in the Stone Age, and that would be the ultimate attack.
Wow. And it sounds like they already have vast amounts of data on their servers already. So, I mean, it kind of sounds like a little bit of a sitting duck situation, or, maybe that's just my naivete. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to
Well,
me.
they do, and they've got Way Communications, which is targeting the rural areas of the United States, even in Oklahoma, to set up brought a high-speed internet for those that can't get it otherwise. That's a collection platform. I mean, it's the same thing, same way with TikTok. No one I know, I tell everyone I know, do not use TikTok. It's a collection platform. There's so many. That's just two examples. There's so many out there. It's just unreal. The data and the collection they have, and the things that they've been able to infiltrate us with.
Holy moly. Let me ask you this. I want to move on to the southern border, because that is a huge national security issue as well. So much going on that is a national security. There's so much to cover. But much of the information that I'm getting came from the senior national security fellows from the Center of Immigration Studies. We know that vast amounts of narcotics, fentanyl, is pouring across the border. We have over 100,000 Americans dying in the United States for the very first time. And in August of 2022, Washington Times reported 2,000 pounds of fentanyl was recovered or seized. We have 2 million illegal immigrants who have crossed over, and then another million that are gotaways. They're just somewhere in the United States. We have illegal immigrants who are tossing their passports because, or any identification, because they don't want to do a credible fear interview, which I guess would then send them back to their country if they weren't being in danger of persecution. We have 66 illegal immigrants or illegal aliens that were on the terror watch list who were apprehended, and a huge humanitarian crisis where 557, maybe more now, have died trying to cross the border. Can you tell us about briefly how these impact or has already impacted our national security?
Oh, it has for quite some time, and this is a huge national security threat. It's an invasion, is what it is. And again, the federal government is doing nothing. As a matter of fact, they're lying and saying, "Oh no, the border's secure." The border's not secure. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to give the Republicans a break on this either. Greg Abbott down in Texas, when he built that fence, I've been down to the border. It's a chain link fence. They've already cut the bottom of it out and going underneath it. The whole thing was a sham. This is all falls on the American people. Our politicians have failed us. The federal government and law enforcement agencies have failed us, not the troops. Now, the Border Patrol, they're trying to do the best they can, but they are handcuffed by the Biden administration. They're completely handcuffed. This is nothing short of an invasion, and it's got to stop today. I mean, and you said it yourself, there's 66 known terrorists that have come over here to the United States through that border. That's another issue itself. It only took 19 to kill over 3,000 Americans in a matter of a very short time. Imagine what 66 could do. Where are they? What are they doing? Are they in your neighborhood? All these things that are happening is our own government is helping these things happen. So we are at war, literally, with our own government, the Biden administration. And I mean, there's just so many examples out there. Inside the Biden administration right now, he appointed a lady by the name of Deb Haaland. Well, Deb Haaland is a known card-carrying communist. He tried to appoint Saul Omarova also, and she was a card-carrying communist. I mean, he's appointing people from an organization called the Council for a Livable World, which we know because of a defected Russian agent that they were set up here in the United States to make sure that people were elected to office that are friendly to the communist movement, specifically what the Russians wanted them to do. I mean, it's just unreal, all the things that are going on, and it's out of control. And nobody, including Republicans, are doing anything about it. They complain about it. They get on TV about it. But have you seen them do anything about it? Nope. How about all the millions of acres of prime farmland that the Chinese Communist Party have bought up? How about some of these things? Well, nothing's being done. How about the political prisoners that are still in jail from January the 6th?
Yes.
How about them? No one's doing anything about them either. I mean, it's a total dumpster fire, and it can only be solved by the people at the ground level. And that's what we do at Understanding the Threat.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break. The kitty is crying. We're going to come back. I want to talk more about this with you. You all don't go away. Welcome back to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. I do want to say thank you to our sponsors, Oklahoma Conservative Political Action Committee, OTU Media, Mariam Daly for Senate, Charles DeFuria, and Carolyn Montgomery. Please go to patreon.com/Mick Meow and subscribe today. Become a sponsor. John, I want to get back to this. I want to get, I'm floored. I'm kind of almost speechless because this is just, it's so intentional. And that's the only way that I can view this is intentional sabotage. And my thought is their goals or the results that they're trying to accomplish with all of this illegal immigration and all of the national security breaches that are going on, or security issues, is that they're trying to fundamentally change the political demographic of our country. Number two, they're trying to overwhelmingly march us to the left, whether it be political, whether it be religious, whether it be moral, whatever. We're trying to align those values. They're trying to ensure that this new demographic creates some sort of ever-increasing number of politicians that would oppose preventing criminals and drugs from coming across our border, obstruct deportation of illegal immigrants, diminish wages and safety of the working class Americans. So am I wrong about this? Am I over the top about this? I don't think so.
No, you're absolutely on target. And the fentanyl is coming from China, and it's killing Americans. This is intentional, but yet nothing's been done about it. However, if a few people get sick at school, they'll shut down the school, call it the Roni virus or Roni pox or whatever they're coming up with next. Make your children wear a mask, and you can't go anywhere over a few hundred or a few thousand deaths. But hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans are dying from fentanyl, and that's not an issue. So you got to look at it and ask, is this intentional? And I say yes, it is. I would even go a little bit farther and say, not only is it intentional, you have to ask the question, why is no one looking at the root of the problem? So there's so many different issues out here that we could throw a dart at: the fentanyl, the border, all these different things, the inflation, everything that's going on is intentional, and it all has the same goal. I mean, and that goal is communism and Marxism. That's exactly what they're implementing and bringing into our constitutional republic, because our republic is antithetical to communism and Marxism. Let me give you just a couple of quick examples. One, if you go out to Trevor Loudon's website, he's a colleague of ours. On his website, he shows us, gives you proof 65 of the most easily identifiable communists in the United States Congress today, 100% Democrat. And it lines it all out on how they're supporting a part of the Communist Party. Now, not giving a pass to Republicans. Republicans that won't lift a finger to stop them are what I call controlled opposition at best, or they're in the enemy's camp helping them out. Another thing you need to think about is all the bureaucracies are towing the same line as the communists are. So what is the root of that issue? Well, why doesn't anybody in one of the federal agencies simply pick up their doctrine? And for the communists and Marxists, the Communist Manifesto is the communist doctrine. Anyone can buy that book. And Rules for Radicals, written by Saul Alinsky, operationalizes the revolutionary communist movement in the United States. And they've been very effective. And that's why we saw BLM and Antifa cause billions of dollars of damage, assassinated people, got away with it, while police, pro football players, federal agents took a knee and put their fist up in the air instead of prosecuting and going after those folks. Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe because Jim Comey, who was the director of the FBI, became the director of the FBI. And he said, and anyone can go find it, he said he moved from communist to whatever he is now. He's not even sure how to characterize himself politically. And he went on to say that maybe at some point I'll have to figure it out. He became the head of the FBI that is tasked with fighting the communist Marxist movement as we see it today in America. Yet he himself was a communist. How about John Brennan, the head of the CIA? He admitted to voting for the Communist Party candidate for president prior to entering the CIA, and yet he became the head of the CIA. I don't know. To me, those are what you would call indicators.
Yeah.
That we should be looking at. And then it rolled right into Obama. He was called the great community organizer, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that's in Rules for Radicals?
No, I didn't. But that is just incredible how it is all tying together. I do want to touch on just one quick thing, though. All of this together, all of these issues that are together and that are tying in, is that a conduit for some sort of Middle Eastern or Chinese terrorism, or is there a possibility of espionage with all of this? I mean, it kind of sounds like it's all deep swamp, infiltrated, but we've got people coming from Iran, we've got people coming from Iraq, we've got people coming from Pakistan. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how that would play in?
Yes, well, with the open borders, with everything that's happening now inside the United States, it's all part of the same cabal. It's all intentional, and they're all working together from the lowest level to the highest levels of our government. Through politics, through our government, through the bureaucracies, everything is coming together perfectly for them. Because they are right now, the communist Marxists and the jihadists, the global Islamic movement, all working together to ground level, to the highest level. They're on the 1 yard line about to score, and we haven't even put our suits on yet to defend ourselves. Why? Political correctness. You have collaborators and others that are going along with them. And I think I mentioned this to you earlier. We're at war. We got to start acting like it. And there's only two camps. There's no more Republicans and Democrats anymore. You're either a patriot or a traitor. You got to decide which side you're on. And if you're not fighting against the traitors, then you're in the enemy's camp. And that's where you are in my book, because we are losing the war and we're losing our constitutional republic because of it.
What a tangled web. What a tangled web we are weaving over here. And we need to, I agree with you, wake up. Get involved, understand what's happening in our country. The kitty is telling me he needs one more time for us to stop and give him some treats. He's so needy. Stay with us. Don't go away. This is just fabulous information. Welcome back to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. I hope that you all are listening, taking notes, going to the Understanding the Threat website. I'm going to join up for one of the classes if it's possible, because this is just, we need to have more people involved. I want to move into asking you about the weaponization of the DOJ. I have friends who are in the FBI, and they are straight up incredible people. They have hearts and souls for service. They are not involved in any kind of partisan entanglement. However, the leadership of the DOJ, the FBI, the State Department, the Department of Defense, they're guided by these woke rules. They are focused on persecuting conservatives and Republicans, anybody who they are considering a threat. And just a couple of examples of their crushing dissent was the pro-life advocate Mark Houck, who was accosted at his home, even though they said, hey, his lawyer said, hey, he'll come in and talk to the FBI. Well, like we had mentioned, hundreds of people were being surveilled for the January 6th event, and now there's whistleblowers who are coming forward saying, look, this is, all being beefed up. This isn't correct. 87 million new IRS agents that are being hired, and they are being handed guns and training to be armed. We've got Attorney General Garland, who is not agreeing with SCOTUS about returning Roe versus Wade to the states, but yet he's allowing all of these people to terrorize the SCOTUS outside of their home. We have Attorney General Garland sending out the memo to do some sort of additional efforts against parents because they dared to speak about CRT being taught to their children. So, but yet the Antifa role of violent rioters, of 2020, their charges were dropped. So my question is, and I know we kind of touched on this a little bit before, that there was the IRS scandal. And the Tea Party and other conservatives, over 400 of them, were viciously targeted, from Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, Barack Obama, Lois Lerner. So is that what this is? Are we, the weaponization of the DOJ and all of this, is that what we're just following up with this and finishing it off? What's happening?
So there definitely has been a weaponization of the DOJ. I'll say this, no matter what issues, and there's a lot of them out there that need to be addressed. However, we're so focused on every single issue, we are driven away from the root of the problem. And if you look and connect all the dots, you'll see it's forming itself into communism and Marxism. So what did the raid on Mar-a-Lago, the raid on the pro-life guy's house, the raid on Roger Stone's house, trying to prosecute General Flynn, which all of these guys were innocent, by the way, the January 6th event, they're sending a message to the American people. You all, if you go against us, we will crush you. This is communism and Marxism, no matter how you slice it. I mean, they are coming at us full blown, and you got to ask yourself, what are your politicians doing? What are your local to federal politicians doing? What is the bureaucracies in your state doing? What are they doing at the federal level? Who's fighting against this? And then when someone does fight against it, they send the Gestapo down to stop you. The pro-life movement, President Trump, you name it. They come after you. They're sending a message to us. And if we allow that to happen and we don't start fighting back, we will lose. They tell exactly what they're going to do in their doctrine.
Sorry, sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt. Finish. I'm sorry.
They tell us exactly what they're going to do in their doctrine. And this is intentional. The FBI especially. Nobody trusts the FBI anymore, right? Nobody does. Well, just so happens, I don't know if you've ever heard of the 45 Communist Goals to Destroy America, which was entered into official congressional record in January of 1963. Number 35 says to discredit and dismantle the FBI. That's on the communist goals to destroy America. It's all in their doctrine. It's in Sal Alinsky operationalizes it in Rules for Radicals. You got the Communist Manifesto, which is their doctrine. It's not that hard for law enforcement, politicians, and others to pick those up, read it, and then when these things happen, like we've been talking about, you can connect the dots and see the whole picture, which the root of the whole problem is our own government is leading us into communism and Marxism. They're destroying our constitutional republic.
How do we fight back? What do we do? How do we hold the line?
So there's several things you can do. And that's why we've shifted our focus at understanding the threat. And we started training at the local level. We started training because the citizens have to do this from the ground up. You might as well forget about the federal government. They are the problem. We are at war with our own government. And I'm not advocating or telling anyone here watching today to pick up a weapon and start shooting at anyone. That's the last thing we need to do, because that's what they want us to do, because then they will use the strong arm of the government to smash any resistance. We have to do this legally and lawfully. So what we do to understanding the threat is we come into your communities, we teach you their doctrine, all these things to help you identify what the problem is. You, with our help, pick out the target in your communities, and then we do an entire operations order that helps you put together an operations plan to legally and lawfully flush these turds out of your community, using the law and obeying the law to do so. You'd be amazed what you could do to get rid of these people. You start pushing them out of your community, the next community pushes them out of theirs, and before you know it, you have a county secured. You start securing the other counties that are surround you, and it grows out from there, and now your entire state is secure. Then you can or do it simultaneously, have your state legislature do what they did last session, or tried to do, is re-engage and bring and take back our sovereignty as a state, wall off the state from the federal government. Now you have a stronghold in a secure place, and you can start working with the other states to do the same thing. That's the only way we can take this thing back. Can't do it through electing some new person to federal office. You can't do it through a new president. It's got to be done at the local level.
John, we're going to take a really quick break, but I do want to come back because I want to ask you really quickly how we can form one of those here in Oklahoma. What can we do? So let's take a really quick break, and then we'll come back, and I really want to touch on this really quickly. All right, don't go away. Welcome back to the Conservative Continuum. I am your host, Mick Meow. We are here with John Bennett. He is the Vice President of Understanding the Threat, and the website is understandingthethreat.com. And we were touching on the most important thing, what we can do. And you were talking about setting up something locally for citizens, right? Like somebody like me, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I can take the class. Is that correct? And how can I do that?
Yes, we have training for citizens, law enforcement, local, state, or federal, as well as other training. But for citizens, there's a 2-day training course. You can go to understandingthethreat.com, and on the main page, there's a place where you can click that says sign up for Into Action training, and you click on that, it'll bring you to the next page, and there's a drop down box, and the state of Oklahoma is on the drop down box. It says request training in this state, or sign up for training in the state of Oklahoma. You'll fill out some information, which sends that to us. And what we'll do is find a contact person in Oklahoma that wants to spearhead it on the ground, kind of coordinate on the ground. We'll get the date set up. We'll get everything ready to go. And then we'll come into your community after everyone signs up, because we vet everyone. So you're going to have to give us some information. We vet everyone before we come. And then we come and we train you and set you on your way.
Do I need to contact people, or you will contact people? Do I have to have, like, if I know 10 people, or if I just say, hey, I'm going to join up? Is it like if there's only one person, the class gets canceled?
Yeah, so typically we ask for 50 people or more. And what I can do is send you a flyer. It's got the sign up page and everything, all the other information on it. And then you can start asking people or sending that to other people, and then they can go to the site and sign up, because we have to have their information. So they'll have to go to the site, sign up, so we can vet them. And then once we get through all that, then we'll come and train.
Excellent. John, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? I know our time here is running out, and I am so grateful. I need to have you come back on because, wow, that was a lot of information. I didn't even anticipate how much information, but I really do want you to come back on. Is there anything else that you'd like for us to understand or know about our national security?
Yeah, absolutely. We are, like I said earlier, we're in the middle of a war. We got to start acting like it. We've got to educate ourselves on the threat, their doctrine, because basic warfighting doctrine in the United States of America is this: you can't defeat your enemy until you know who they are, who they say they are, and how they operate. That's been a catastrophic failure at the local level to the highest levels in the land. That's why they are beating us. After that, then you got to formulate a plan to go after them legally and lawfully, to push them out of your communities and to build a stronghold and keep pushing them out until we take our republic back, because there's no doubt we've lost it. And it's up to us. This is our 1776 moment. And if we don't stand up today and get that back, we'll lose it forever. And this is not propaganda. It's not a joke. And I think people know this is where we're at today.
Yes. John, thank you so much. The kitty is telling us that it is time for us to be done. I am going to have you back. If you are willing, maybe you could come back in a month, because this is just so important if you're open.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more people know, the better. So the truth.
That's right. And the truth will set you free. Everybody, make sure you go to understandingthethreat.com. I'm going to see if
understandingthethreat.com.
I'm sorry, understandingthethreat.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Make sure, because I'm going to see if I can't get a class organized here in Oklahoma. I think it's important. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for curling up with us today. I am so grateful that you watched my program. I am truly blessed by all of you. Thank you to my guest, John Bennett. I hope that you all realize that national security is not an issue solely for our government to ensure. It is also up to you and I and what we can do in order to safeguard it. I hope that you gained a deeper insight into understanding the threat. I urge you to check out the website understandingthethreat.com, and please be aware that OTU Media and the Conservative Continuum is going to come together in order to have a class with understanding the threat at the local level for the citizens in Oklahoma. We're going to be posting more about that information as we get that from John Bennett. Here's a couple of upcoming special events I want you all to know about. October 24th, there's a special event which will be held at the Spring Hill Hotel, downtown Oklahoma City, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. A group of grassroots activists, GOP volunteers, and delegates are going to be holding a Republican meet and greet for anyone who is interested in becoming a state GOP chairman or vice chair. If you are interested in attending, please go to Facebook to sign up at the event page. Look for Republican Grassroots Meet and Greet. The GOP state convention will be held in the spring of 2023 for that election. You don't want to miss this event. On October 14th at 10 a.m., the Oklahoma Ethics Commission will be holding their next meeting at the state capitol. I'd love to have you all join me as a spectator at that meeting. Now, please make sure that you subscribe to the Conservative Continuum on patreon.com/McMeow. You can also follow us on Rumble and Facebook. McMeow is also on True Social, Telegram, and Substack. I look forward to seeing you all next week when we talk to Senator Jake Merrick about many interesting topics and legislation that is relevant to today's culture. Don't forget, stand up, speak out, get involved, and be blessed always, my friends.